You're nodding on a podcast, David. It's the downside to us being able to see each other.
That is correct.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax. HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to episode 335 of the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. My name is David Sims of HIPAA for MSPs, and joining me is Donna Grindle of Cardinal. Good afternoon, Donna.
Oh, yeah. We've had a busy morning, though.
Yeah, we have. So
people don't understand what we're doing when we're working, but we're creating problems for others mostly. But yes, we're creating.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Being creative.
I like it.
Yep. So we do want to kind of dive into the episode today kind of quickly. So, but we do want to mention 22 of 22.
Yes.
The next HIPAA boot camp, which is already filling up. So
it was interesting how many people we've already, and now all the people are trying to decide which one to go to. Some are like, maybe I should just go to both. I was like, maybe.
They are going to be different. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
that's what I would do. I would go to both, and then you can determine for the next year which one you want to attend.
Yes. So I can't imagine going to the second one the way that some of the people that come to the boot camp have, like, really, they don't know how much they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, just walking in the door with the conversations and the things that we're going to do, it'll be fun. But boy, is that ripping off a Band-Aid right there.
Yeah. Well, you know, a lot of people come to the boot camp more than once because
most of the people, yeah.
Yeah. I did the same thing when I went through the first class that you did for IT back in 2012,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when when our paths first crossed.
10 long years ago. Almost.
Yeah, I know. I went through that first class, and then, you know, it was almost like, well, it wasn't almost like, it was like, I need to go through it again because now I understand enough to understand what was presented the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the first time I was like, even at the end of it, I'm like, okay, I think I'm just now grasping this. Now let's do it again.
Yeah, start over.
Yeah, let's do it all again.
Yeah, and it's hard, you know. I mean, I've been doing this since the rules came out and reading them and figuring it out and, you know, dealing with all the people who ignored the rules and, you know, and finally saying, okay, maybe they'll finally look at the rules. But as we are going to discuss today, that's clearly not always the case. They ignore the rules.
Yep.
So
that is true.
Go to thehipaabootcamp.com and you can get the information for the 3-day virtual boot camp in February that starts 2/22/22. Hallelujah. But that one will follow what we've been doing for virtual, and then September 12th through so that's Monday through Thursday, whatever that date is, 15th, 16th. Anyway, Monday through Thursday, we are bigger, better, and a privacy and security boot camp that is going to be our new model for a annual privacy and security event that is about learning everything, not just going to a conference and entertaining and playing. It's hard work. Doing what we do. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is.
It's more hard work for you than me.
I know. I know. I told when we were talking about the September one, and we were talking about having multiple sessions at the same time, and I said, well, David can teach that. And the team looks at me like, really? I was like, he listens to me more than anybody else, more than y'all. At least most of the time, it seems like he's listening. Sometimes not so much. But it is the September deal. We are continuing to finalize and work it out. And that's going to happen sooner rather than later. I just realized we're quickly approaching a deadline to maintain what is being saved and set aside for us.
It is true. What about the September one? You want to mention anything about that?
That's what I was just talking about, David. Clearly, you were not paying attention. This is what I mean. I just give you compliments. No, and then you mess with me like that. All right. So, yes, virtual in February. Go sign up for that now. You can get the early bird price. The full price kicks in January. So, you want to get in there now. Then we've got Downtown Louisville event that will be in September. So, be excited. Join us at one or both to have some entertaining privacy and security work.
Yeah, it'll be entertaining.
Yeah. Hey, I'm doing Bourbon and Breeches. I'm working on that part already. The rest of the sessions, not so much. Haven't started on those. But I have started on Bourbon and Breeches already. That'll be a happy hour event.
It's all going to be happy hours.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So, yes, those are our two big things. You can also check out HIPAA4MSPs.com for the new and improved versions there, and cardinhq.com/club to learn more about the new card and club offering, which we will start really marketing in 2022 because, we'll have a grand opening. We've got a soft opening.
In my soft heart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, then. Let's get on with it.
All righty. Well, we'll kick it off with our HIPAA.
Say what?
Yeah, because this one's funny. Talking about insider problems.
Yeah. Well, the whole episode is a HIPAA say what, but this one, I was like, this goes right to the heart of what we talk about when we say you cannot assume that everything will be okay.
Mm-mm.
And I'm still disturbed by this one. So Ubiquiti, which is a company that creates networking hardware. Is that the best way to describe them? I mean, they've got cameras, they got, all kinds of other stuff. And, I have it here. I have Ubiquiti equipment it runs my network here.
Yep. They do, routers and switches and Wi-Fi access points and video cameras and all kind of stuff. And they're fairly popular within the IT circles, mainly because when they came on the scene, they were priced right for what you got. I mean, they were high value, so they kind of got a lot of adoption by us IT folks. And so, we've used them for years. We don't use them as much anymore, depending on the circumstance, but they're still used a lot in the commercial industry.
Well, I like their prosumer line. Finally, something above consumer, but below enterprise. I was like, yee, giddy.
Yeah.
So what had happened was a employee, what's his name here? Nicholas Sharp.
Yeah, not to be confused with Nicholas Spark.
A former employee,
I would hope,
of Ubiquiti was arrested and charged with data theft and attempting to extort his employer while posing as a whistleblower and an anonymous hacker.
Just that first paragraph makes you go, what?
Yeah. And, I mean, there was just like, this guy had it out for them. And I don't know if there's like
He worked at Cisco. I'm just kidding.
But somehow, I mean, he had it out for him big time because so it starts with he uses his trusted insider access to steal gigabytes of confidential data from Ubiquiti as an anonymous hacker. Made it look like it was an anonymous hacker who stole the data and then sent a $2 million ransom demand in order for me not to release the data kind of thing. So we've seen this,
It's a good way to get a bonus from your employer.
Yeah, but normally it is actually someone external and anonymous, not somebody in the office next door.
No, but it's, certainly makes your job easier when you're supposed to have access to the data and you steal it.
Yeah. So, as further alleged, after the FBI searched his home, he then started posing as a whistleblower for the company, planting damaging news stories saying that the hack had been caused by a vulnerability in the computer systems at the networking company. So basically, telling all these anonymous whistleblower stories of how this happened when we know he didn't use any kind of vulnerability or exposure to do it. Instead, he stole it,
It was the
just straight up.
vulnerability.
Yeah. But he did it using his cloud administrator credentials and SSH. And then he did. Now, here's the best part. I mean, it sounds like this mastermind criminal, number one. The whole setup of who would dream this up in the first place. But then he's doing all of this stuff and it uses his cloud administrator account. So now he's the one, and he uses a VPN service, but he had a temporary internet outage, which then hid the VPN dropped. Like I have my VPN set so that if internet drops, it drops the whole transmission. Like if I'm not going to maintain my VPN connection, then just shut it down. And apparently there was a section where his internet dropped, or the VPN dropped, and it exposed his home IP address.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah. The actual location was exposed completely because he didn't have his VPN all the time. And he did get in and change things and all of that kind of stuff that in the logs in the system, he cleaned those up. He did the one day, he did a lot of stuff behind the scenes, right? He was also on the team that did the incident response to the incident.
That's funny. I know how to fix this.
It's like, anyway, he didn't get the money out of him because apparently they found a second back door from its systems, changed all the credentials and said, screw you, we're not paying, to the anonymous hacker. So when that failed, he didn't get any money. He was like, fine, I'm going to make you lose the money either way. And calls up and he's like, a whistleblower saying that the company downplayed the incident. It was a really bad hack and all of this kind of stuff, and let it get in the news stories. And I remember seeing it in the news stories that they had concealed it. And I'm like, this doesn't, and everything I was reading, it just, I thought it was odd and said, well, let me follow the story for a while. And their stock dropped 20%. $4 billion in market capitalization drop. So then he re-victimized them, as they're saying, by these misleading articles. So the net of it is it seems like they've pretty much gotten him dead to rights, so to speak, with plenty of evidence. Maybe somebody's framing him. I don't know, but they didn't actually say he was. He's like, this is DOJ says this is an insider thing, and we've arrested this dude for what he did to his employer. But then you go look, and everywhere it shows that he works for Ubiquity. So he's charged with 4 counts, facing a 37-year sentence in prison.
Woo.
So this teaches us several things, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You can be smart and be stupid at the same time. Let's just go with that one. Because clearly he was smart enough to do the first part, dumb enough to actually go through with it, and then take it a step further to make sure he got caught.
He should have moved to Russia before he did all this.
I know, right? Or at least, gone and asked for asylum in the embassy, that kind of stuff.
Something.
So that's number one. Number two is you can't ever assume that your supply chain might not have something like this happen. You can't say, well, that'll never happen to them. This company, if we would have never guessed that, and clearly they didn't think he was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever his beef was, and clearly he had one, it wasn't just about the money. If it was just about the money, he would have done something else trying to get the money. He didn't want the money. Or maybe they're going to find out later he shorted the stock. Who knows?
Oh.
Yeah. That probably, I don't know. That'll be interesting to know, because that'll show you just how much he wanted the money versus he wanted revenge.
Mm-hmm.
So if he shorted the stock, he was after the money. But that they don't mention that, and that would fall under potentially, I guess, the FTC. I don't know. Insider trading then. Talking about insider trading. Okay, so you never know when this kind of stuff's going to happen, and it was pretty intense because I went through all of my settings and all of my stuff with Ubiquity to make sure I wasn't impacted, and it was all an insider event.
Yeah, so think of how much wasted time across all the organizations that use their products.
Mm-hmm. Because of this guy.
Yeah. Well, then again, there might be some people that actually found problems that they didn't know existed otherwise. So it's kind of like when you go to the doctor and it's like, I don't really feel that good. And they find out you've got something really bad. And you're like, oh, good thing I got sick, or I never would have found this other thing.
Yeah. I broke my leg. So when they did that x-ray, they found another problem. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Good thing I broke my leg.
Yeah.
But anyway, this next one here, 5 more enforcement actions. Because, end of the year.
Yeah, they seem to do these in bunches. They had 5 in September of last year, 5 in December of this year. Bam, bam.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the 25. They did 25 cases now.
Yep. HIPAA right of access. So in case you don't know and you're not aware of this, when somebody asks for their medical records, there are certain things you must do in a timely manner.
And this is about patient care and patient rights.
Mm-hmm.
This is the core reason HIPAA exists. HIPAA's not so much, while cybersecurity sucks all of our time, it's really only 8 pages of the whole HIPAA law, which is massive. Yeah. 8 pages on security. Privacy is the biggest part. And without the privacy rule, the security rule, those are recommended things for every business. But some of these, I'm like, do they care that they have patients?
No.
One of them,
Look at the nads on the man.
How do you walk away like that? So it is our very first release, though, from the new OCR director. So now we've got Yeah, I haven't really seen her speak or anything yet, but David and I both went the same way. At least we can pronounce the name we think.
Yeah, we think.
Yeah.
So-
Assuming.
Yeah, Lisa J. Pino.
We think.
Yeah.
Like
Pino.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not with a
I guess
T.
Pino.
Yes. We both went with would you prefer a noir or a grigio? Anyway, what did she have to say in her very first big press release about enforcement?
Well, she says timely access to your health records is a powerful tool in staying healthy. Patient privacy, and it's your right under the law. OCR will continue its enforcement actions by holding covered entities responsible for their HIPAA compliance and pursue civil money penalties for violations that are not addressed. So
That last bit's important in the discussions.
We ain't stopping.
Well, and we've heard that from our OCR connections. And when we have OCR folks, they come to our boot camp, and shout out to Allison if she's listening. We'll try not to torture you too much, but they reminded us even then. She's reminding us every time that we've had her since this was announced that, they're really, really serious about this and doing what needs to be done within their tools. And you'll see in a minute, it's like sometimes the tools aren't enough. Then there's nothing else they can do. So let's look. The first one was advanced spine and pain management, $32,150 in penalties, or that's the settlement. It's not an actual penalty. It's a settlement amount with a 2-year corrective action plan. Seems pretty straightforward. Patient wanted their stuff. The patient asked for it November 25th, 2019 in person and did a written request asking for the access. And when OCR called them up, they acknowledged that they got the request that day, but they didn't get around to sending them the records until March 19th, 2020.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're like, yeah, we got the request, but we haven't done anything about it. No. Here are rules. We have rules, and we're supposed to all play within the rules. That's how this works. So the patient did their part. You're not doing yours. And that one's pretty straightforward. The 2-year cap. Okay, you got to start following the rules. It's basically what the 2-year cap does. But as always, to me, the $32,150 was not a drop in the bucket compared to the effort that they'll have to put into their 2-year cap. The good news is in these cases, they don't go digging into their security. You're nodding on a podcast, David. It's the downside to us being able to see each other.
That is correct.
So there's that one. Then the next one is Denver Retina Center. Theirs is $30,000 with a 2-year cap. Now, this one, goofy. He's like one of those little nodding dolls now in the back of the car. All right. So, yeah. But this one, again, if you are able to not have OCR do enforcement, if you slip by one time and you're slipping by and you're breaking the rules, fix it then. Fix it then. Fix it before. Fix it as soon as you realize that you have not been doing what you're supposed to do. That's really what we need from any of these providers. And that really came into play when a patient requested medical records in December 2018. Again, remember how long these things take. And I'm aware of some that are still going on since 2016, 2017. I mean, it's been going on a while. So she says that she filed a complaint previously about not getting her records before in March of 2018. And OCR got involved and provided technical assistance because they got evidence that, they had gotten, apparently they'd said, okay, we'll give you the records. So now the same patient's coming back again. And sure enough, that they got the request and they still hadn't given them the medical records. So it's your second time around. Do not ride this ride twice. It's just not. It's not good. Mm-mm. So they never confirmed any of the dates when OCR started trying to investigate. And they admitted that they knew there was a request and they knew they were late responding, but that's kind of it. And they finally, the December request finally was FedExed. So that tells you there was pressure involved. FedEx to the patient July 26, 2019. So 8 days after OCR started pressuring them, then boom, it finally happens.
It's amazing.
And here's the line. In addition, after reviewing their policies and procedures, HHS concluded that it did not have compliant access policies and procedures according to under the privacy rule. Okay. So you didn't even have them. You had no policies and procedures. At least the others apparently had the templates. They just weren't following them. So in their 2-year cap, hey, how about you create the policies and procedures you're supposed to have? So again, $30,000 and 2-year cap. Now the next one is where I just,
yeah.
If I were in that area, there's no way I would go see this doctor.
No, and he's probably on the OCR hit list if there is one.
Yeah, they're just waiting for somebody. If you're a patient and you're seeing stuff, and imagine the disgruntled insider and all of that kind of stuff. So, to me, I would say that we should, that whole, we say that your reputation is impacted by these things.
Mm-hmm.
This tells me a lot about his reputation. Because when I was reading this, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. So this is a cardiovascular disease and internal medicine doctor in New Hyde Park, New York, Dr. Robert Glazer. Let's make it clear, did not cooperate with OCR's investigation or respond to the data request after failing to provide a patient with a copy of their medical records.
Yeah. So he's ignoring the patient.
Ignoring ignoring
OCR.
I mean, what more can anybody do?
He's got to be a great boss man.
Yeah, boy. But you definitely, you wouldn't want to. Don't go see him if you ever want. It's clearly all about him.
Yeah, how do you stay in business, really?
It's a solo practitioner, too, so that also tells you something.
You can't work with other people.
Well, and there's a former patient that filed the initial complaint. So the patient left.
Yeah.
So this one goes back to November 2017, they got the first complaint. And the patient had made several written and verbal requests to access the medical records from 2013 to 2014. And they advised the doctor, hey, we've talked to you, we sent you a letter, make sure that the patient gets their stuff, you might be in non-compliance, straighten up, right?
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen. So March 2018, the patient comes back and says, still don't have my stuff. And they had done again. And so OCR, they provided the patient sent OCR 3 written requests from May 2017, June 2017, and January 2018. And so then in August, OCR goes back to him and says, hey, we need you to send us some stuff and a copy of the notice, and we would like you to respond within 14 calendar days. That's a pretty standard process. Happens all the time.
Right.
It explained that you're supposed to do this under the law and yada, yada, yada. Told them all the stuff, and then they called the office to find out what's the deal. You know, there's a follow-up call. That happens. And the office manager then says, we didn't get the letter. So they sent it via fax. No response.
They didn't get that one either.
No response. No response after getting that. So they didn't get a response to the letter, to the data request. So they called again in September and spoke directly with the doctor, who said, I need an extension due to the religious holiday. So they said, fine, we're going to give you that. And then there was no response. So what are they doing that's wrong at all? I mean, you always hear about how evil and mean. They haven't been evil and mean at all. They're expecting him to cooperate. Apparently, he needs to go back to Sesame Street and learn about cooperation. So they called again to say, look, you're overdue. We gave you until September 13th, 2018. And here we are, September 27th, 2018. And nada. And the office manager said she did not know the status and the doctor couldn't talk to you right now. Okay, so they sent a letter via fax and regular mail, because they're not playing anymore, reminding him you're supposed to cooperate. No response. None. Then, repeated failures, they sent via letter, fax, and certified mail will return receipt so that they would have documentation showing that it got there with all the original stuff, along with all of the summary. And they wanted a copy of even more stuff, which is when they start asking for the financials. Everybody goes, oh. No response. None. Another letter via fax and certified mail saying, if you got a problem with this, here's your options. Resolution agreement with corrective action plan, or, we're going to do enforcement. The office manager calls them up and says, we don't care. So the, the regional OCR folks are like, what do you do with this? Flat out denied the patient access to their own records and refused to cooperate with OCR on it. And so they said, okay, you can voluntarily resolve the matter like this. And the office manager stated that she would advise Dr. Glazer of her call with the OCR regional manager. They didn't respond. So then they sent again, okay, here's the deal. Here's what we can do. And your letter of opportunity and all this kind of stuff. They have records that they got it saying you're non-compliant and we want this done. And they had to get authorization from the Attorney General prior to issuing the notice of proposed determination to impose civil money penalty. So not only are they saying, we don't care, we don't care about you, we don't care about the patient, we don't care about our obligations, we don't care about patient care, we don't care. We don't care. Mm-hmm. So they show how they went about calculating the amount, got to $100,000 and said, pay up.
Which they probably will ignore that too.
Mm-hmm. So do
you think they have a HIPAA SHMIPA program?
Well, and they sent this in May and we're just now hearing about it. Wow. So there's, these are kind of, just kind of backed up, but yeah, I believe they have nothing. And they're like, what are you going to do about it? I mean, it's literally saying, what are you going to do about it? So, like I'm saying, if you know anybody up there you say, if you're seeing this doctor, he does not care about the law. He doesn't care about what the patients want. He ignores it. It's clear. So he may be nice to you right now, but whatever this patient did to make him decide, I don't have to do any of these things. So there's a reputational problem right up in there. I don't know about you, but I'd steer clear.
Yeah, because you know, I'd be like, okay, fine. I'm gonna find some way to nail you. I'm gonna look at under every rock I can look under.
Well, and it's just we refuse to participate. It's like that. Nothing applies to me. They closed the case. They've issued the civil money penalty of $100,000. So if they don't pay, I don't know what happens next.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it probably goes over to, if you don't pay. I wonder what happens when you don't pay a civil money penalty.
That's what I was about to say. Like, how far does it go if you just continue ignoring everything?
Yeah.
I wonder at some point if they don't call in DOJ and like, fine, we'll throw you in jail.
Well, it's saying that before they sent it, they got DOJ to sign off on it because that's got to be the next step.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. So maybe 30 days in jail or whatever it happens to be will turn you around a little bit.
I was just like, I'm reading it and it just keeps going and going and going. And you don't know if you feel sorry for the office manager or not. But they did talk directly with the physician one time.
Yeah.
So.
It just not you never want to be on OCR's radar, but you're not even, at this point, you're not on the radar. You're on the target.
Well, yeah. And it's
downrange, brother.
And it's, now we're talking about Department of Justice, Federal Trade Commission, a whole bunch of other folks. And with all the documentation they have, what are you going to say?
Yeah, because these folks, I mean, they can extend this to anything they want at that point. They'll start pulling your financials, and next thing you know, you're having an IRS audit. I mean, they can make your life miserable. This is stupid. Dr. Glaser, stupid.
I have, nothing applies to me. And I mean, it's not like this has been going on for years. There's had to have been multiple different people. So it could, years.
Yep.
I wonder if that office manager would come on and let us interview her.
This is one of those times where I have zero remorse for what happens to the practice.
No. So, and this is one of those times where you're going to see things like here's a possibility of a hacktivist getting involved and going after people. Here's a possibility of all kinds of things happening. So, anyway.
The other thing too is how many patients get this type of treatment but don't know that they can complain. Or have had other things happen because they couldn't get their medical records. And so it affected them in some other way when they went to another facility or something. I don't know whether financially or their health wise. I mean, this is terrible patient care.
This is information blocking. Information blocking is now in play too, because he still hasn't given them the records.
Right. Yeah. So, this guy might be in an orange jumpsuit.
I don't know. I doubt it. Just ignore him. Just go get on his yacht. It's cardiology.
Yeah. We'll start a new podcast. It's going to be called Ignore HIPAA.
Yeah. So speaking of that, the next one of this is the Rain Rock Treatment Center LLC DBA, doing business as Montanito Rain Rock. Montanito. Okay. Anyways, they say that they received complaints. Now, get this. The same patient, the complainant, December 4th, 2019, January 28th, 2020, February 20th, 2020. Complaint.
Yep.
And we know what happened after February 20th, 2020. Wheels kind of fell off on everything.
Yep.
So alleging, they failed to provide the records. The records were requested October 1st and November 21st of 2019. Still didn't get them. They finally sent them in May of 2020. May. And they're like, you don't have any of this stuff. So apparently they hit them with $160,000 and corrective action plan that I guess, we haven't seen one that's 1 year in a long time.
Yeah.
But
That may only be maybe because they were dealing with a lot of the COVID stuff. However, it was late prior to all the COVID stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, for those people who think, well, during an incident, which I guess you could call COVID response.
Yeah.
During an incident, all of your responsibilities go out the window. No, they do not.
Mm. So, they're having them do the policies and procedures and all of that, but it looks like that they actually took action. That when it happened, they started taking action, and by now, so this is May of 2020, that they said, oh, my goodness, we've screwed up. And they made sure they got the records, but maybe they actually, turned over a new leaf with this stuff is kind of what I'm thinking is how they managed to get to 1 year. I think that they did enough work so that instead of a 2 year, they're saying, finish what you're doing. And then when you finish what you're doing, we'll check it out. That, we'll give you a year to get it all done. That is what it sounds like to me. That they basically, as we've often told people, when this stuff happens, put yourself on a corrective action plan, an aggressive one. Because if you do that, then, OCR is going to be happy. You have to be able to come back and prove you've done the work, but they'll be thrilled to know that you're taking it seriously. And, but they're going to come back and check, see if you did it. So, boom.
Yep.
Anyway, so that one was in Oregon. And the last one, still, you were, when you saw this one, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Stroke a check. I still don't get this one, but where is this one? Wake in North Carolina, as in Wake Forest, I think. It's not associated, but I'm sure it's in the area. Wake Health Medical Group.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if all these folks are seeing what the other guy did and said, well, maybe we should have ignored. Well, these people only got a $10,000 stroke a check for $10,000 and a 2-year corrective action.
Mm-hmm.
So this goes out to all the people that tell me I'm wrong when I say this. It's a special request. Because I've had this happen. Well, we can't get you. You have to pay $25 for your records. Well, I'd like to know how you calculate that. Well, we just charge a flat $25. Okay, that is against the law. You can charge $25, but you need to show me how you got to $25 even. Because I'm pretty sure that would be impossible. Statistical possibility, yes. I freaked out because I was at a store on a trip to Louisville and I stopped somewhere and, grabbed something to drink, snack, whatever, exactly $11. I was like, wow, that never happens. And, the lady working the cash register, full of joy and friendliness, says, happened earlier today.
It always happens when they buy the same thing you just bought.
Yeah. Happened earlier today. Even number. No big deal. They just destroy my joy. Anyway, so in this case, the patient didn't get their records, files the complaint, OCR calls, and they're told that that they're charged a flat fee of $25 to get a copy. No, you cannot. Because in their corrective action plan, it says that, like right there at the top, the very first thing on policies and procedures is they need to revise and identify the method for calculating a reasonable cost-based fee for access to PHI. And it gives them the details of what they're supposed to do and how they do it. So we're going to be taking this and adding it to our checklist for patient right of access. Ours, it says document how you calculate your fees, but this gives you very specific requirements on what should be in there. And $10,000.
That's a flat fee.
Yeah, so the $10,000 and a 2-year cap. So, that I don't know how it was just $2,000. It could be because they do look at the finances of the operation.
You mean 10,000?
Yeah, 10,000. I'm looking at 2 years corrective action.
2-year cap.
All right, it's $10,000 resolution and a 2-year corrective action plan. So the fact that the very first thing that they have to fix is properly calculating it. All you people who are still saying we charge $25 or whatever, fix it. There's the proof. I'm all done with that. That's all I have to say about that. Because I have been told I was wrong about that more than once. I love it when I'm able to say, see?
There you go. But then the last part, which is to date, which, today, they have still not provided the patient with a copy of the medical records.
No, that's what it says. So it's like, I don't get it. I can't follow it. I don't get it. So there's so many in this that, but I think that they were so backed up with the transition and all of this stuff that they're just clearing out some stuff that is small. Let's get it done. See if we can enforce, going forward, use the corrective action plans, because if they fail the corrective action plans, all bets are off. They go back to calculating.
Yeah. But this, this is why we have to have laws and such about things like the cybersecurity and HIPAA, privacy, security, and all this other stuff. Sometimes I have clients ask me like, well, aren't people, trying to at least do their best anyway? And I'm like, you'd be shocked how many people aren't trying to do anything and are often belligerent against doing anything that people that have common sense would say, you should probably do these things. It kind of reminds me a little bit of an article that you and I were talking about where somebody says you no longer need to use antivirus.
That'll be coming up in an episode soon.
Yeah, which we'll talk about that. But this is why. This is why we have to have these things, because yes, people like you and me, we look at this and go, yes, sure, we want to do everything that is patient care focused, and we want to give them the ability to participate in their care, and we want to protect the data and protect our business and do things on the cybersecurity front. It makes sense to do those things, but that's not as common as you think it would be.
No. Well, it's like the guy that just flat out refuses to give the patient their records and talk to OCR. They're just, and the law says you're supposed to do both.
Yeah.
So,
just, to some degree, I can kind of see where you might want to flip the bird to the man, but doing it to your own patients, that makes no sense to me.
Yeah. Give the patient the records and, handle whatever your problem is, but the patient is at the center of this problem. And to completely ignore the enforcers that are technically representing the patient. That's their job, is to represent the patient and make sure the patient gets what they need.
Yeah. We wouldn't be talking about any of these practices. We wouldn't be talking about any of these if their patient care was where it should be.
If they worry about it first, making sure I do. Care. Yeah. If I do the right thing for my patients, then I would be doing this. And, there's so many who tell you, we joke about the HIPAA schmippa, but they'll say all medical people, since they don't need HIPAA to tell them not to disclose things. I'm like, really? You have no idea. Because even with HIPAA, they disclose things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's crazy stuff. So, unbeknownst to me, I can't follow it. So, I'm just at times flabbergasted, but then I move on because as I tell people, either, you know, you think you know everything and you don't care to know what you don't know, or you really don't care, you're not going to do anything anyway, like Dr. Robert Glazer of New Hyde Park, New York.
Mm-hmm.
Or you really want to work. You really want to do the right thing. Those are the people I'm here to help. And the others, you know, if you ever get there, let me know. If you ever want to learn why you want to know more, let me know.
Yep.
So there you go, brother.
I'll keep doing what you're doing, and we'll feature you on a future episode.
Well, that's a way to put it. All right, so this one comes out on the 17th, and next week's the blooper show, and Boyan's apparently having fun. We haven't heard it yet, so
yeah, I think he's already got it ready for us to listen to.
Yeah, well, that'll be challenging.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to let the internal FCC hear it at the last minute. When we did the whole toilet man bit, it didn't go over well.
All right, folks, that is our show for today. Thanks for listening, and be sure to join us next week when we talk about more stuff.
Next week is the blooper, and then week after next, on New Year's Eve, we're going to do our review of how well did we do on our predictions, because we kind of threw them up in the air. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. I was scared to predict anything after 2020.
I know. Everything's just gone.
All right. Good deal. All right. So remember, for Donna and myself, HIPAA's not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.